I just love my girls, and I love my wife, and I just want her to be found.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. It's Mother's Day. I know most of you, or certainly a lot of you on my channel, are women and many of you are mothers. So this is a direct congratulations to you. I hope it's a wonderful day. I hope you're treated the way you really should be treated today, because you're a very special person. 2 years ago today, on Sunday, May 10th, 2020, Suzanne Morphew, 49 years old, vanished from her home. Now, it is believed by many people that that is when something happened to her, is that she went for a bike ride on, or something happened on the morning or sometime during the day on May 10th. But that is not what law enforcement believe. Law enforcement seem to believe something happened around about 2:30, round about that time on Saturday, the day before, on May 9th. And in any event, she vanished from her home over the weekend. At that time, her two daughters were far away at a church camp in Idaho. The only person home, and according to law enforcement, the last person to see her alive was 51-year-old, now 53-year-old, Barry Morphew. 2 days ago, on May 6th, Barry and his daughters, Mallory and Macy, appeared together on Good Morning America. Somber, serious, holding hands in explicit solidarity, him with his daughters, them with their father. They weren't there to discuss the circumstances of their mother's disappearance, but to somberly and seriously offer their father their vote of confidence on camera. Barry himself appeared to say little, if not the least. I'm going to start with a few general observations before pulling out the big guns. But before I get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and remember you can also express your thanks through the nifty thanks button that is also available to you. And let's get started.
Are you sure you want to hear this?
We've been silent for a long time, and we've decided that we finally want to break the silence.
So I'm going to start with Demeanor. If you think about it, this is possibly the first time we've seen Mallory and Macy not smiling broadly and appearing happy and confident with their dad. In their many appearances at trial with their father, they have been well dressed, often carrying a cup of coffee, but generally appearing all smiles in front of the cameras, and Barry too. But are those smiles real, or are they PR for the cameras? After these photos were taken, Barry's defense attorney gave a lengthy, albeit impromptu, press conference for all of 20 minutes in front of the court on behalf of her client, even though he was nowhere to be seen.
I am. I believe that if we had had a trial, the community, the people who have been searching for Suzanne, the critics, the suspects, would have seen the truth. They would have seen the truth in this case that was starting to eke out as we were doing and filing different kinds of motions and having hearings in this case. And now we've lost that ability to present the truth. That's what the courtroom is for.
During that PR opportunity, besides insisting Barry was innocent, Iris Ayton also castigated one of the journalists in attendance in front of her colleagues. A few days or weeks later, on April 25th, Iris Ayton was quoted by the Daily Beast in an article bizarrely titled, "How a Husband-Wife Mega Murder Saga Descended into Chaos." If you didn't know much about the case, Ayton provided herself as a first-hand source and described the mess the prosecution had made of the case. But wasn't this also PR? It's a question. Wasn't this making PR hay while the sun shines for a client? In the interlude between the first charges and attempt to go to trial and potentially whatever happens next, Weren't they using that interlude to kind of make hay while the sun shines? I want to say the demeanor we see from the girls and Barry in front of the cameras on Good Morning America, I want to say the demeanor we saw 2 days ago is appropriate. It's grave, sober, and serious. So why is there such a contrast between the serious demeanor here, with all of them on camera, taking questions, making statements for public consumption, and the wordless, smiley, gay, even joyful saunters into and out of court, where respective counsel were trying to get Barry on trial for his wife's disappearance? The hand-holding shows solidarity. The McCanns did that too. And of course, they're always holding hands, whether walking into or out of court or whether they're on camera sitting down. Final point on demeanor: why aren't Barry and his kids breaking their silence to local media or local media journalists? In other words, media folk who know them and who've sat in on the legal stuff, who know the case very well as well. This reminds me of John and Patsy never wanting to talk to Boulder's Daily Camera, the local news station where they stayed. Instead, they leave town and go to Atlanta to speak on CNN. And that brings us to the next point. Why are they breaking their silence now? The reality of the Good Morning America appearance wasn't that Barry's daughters broke their silence. Iris Ayton also appears on that show, and so one has to wonder, whose idea was it? Was this because the girls wanted to talk about their feelings towards their mom, or because it's savvy legal strategy? Was this spontaneous? Was this something that came from the heart? Or was it something else? And was what they said what they wanted to say, or were they advised to say it? Or was it a bit of both?
We just know our dad better than anyone else. And we know he was not involved in our mom's disappearance.
We know our father better than anyone. Well, that may be true, with one exception. Didn't Suzanne know her husband better than anyone? Didn't Suzanne likely know her husband better than her daughters did? Also, he was in her proximity at their spacious home in Salida, whereas they weren't even in the same state at the time that this incident happened. So as much as they know and love their father, they can't actually vouch for his movements over the critical part of the timeline because they simply weren't there. In effect, Barry has to vouch for his own movements on the last day Suzanne was seen alive. The afternoon of May 9th, a Saturday, when Barry said they relaxed together and barbecued. He described it as a perfect evening, culminating in sex. But the telematics of his truck suggests a lot of activity to and from the vehicle on Saturday evening. Law enforcement also recovered only one plate in the kitchen, not indicative of two people enjoying a meal together, is it?
I love my girls. And I love my wife.
The way I understood that is Barry saying, 2 years later, I still love my wife. I'm not sure if that was quite the gist of Barry's March 5th interview with the cops, and I think that was March 5th, 2021. Barry said the following at the time. He said, "So whatever we have to do to get this over, I need it over for me. I need to move on, move forward somehow. Of course, what you told me about the affair broke me. I'm still broken about it. I'll probably never get over that. But the good thing about this is it would allow me to move on, knowing if what you're saying is true, even if she comes back or even if we find her alive, she doesn't want me anymore anyway. So why should I put all of my heart and my love into this relationship if she doesn't want me anymore?" Barry went on saying, "I can't go on like this. This is no way to live. It's not fair to my daughters that I be so upset. But you want to talk about the relationship, which I think is where we were when we left. I'll answer anything about Suzanne and I, but obviously she had two different worlds. I just can't believe what she's telling this guy, and I can't believe what she's telling her friends and her family." The penultimate thing I want to bring up is something the defense counsel Iris Ayton said, basically saying to law enforcement, addressing law enforcement, go find Suzanne. I found it interesting how they put the onus on finding Suzanne on the cops. And also Barry's daughter said, we just miss our mom so much and we want her to be found. So let me ask you a question. You can leave your answer in the comments. In your opinion, do you think Barry's counsel wants Suzanne to be found? In other words, do you think Barry's lawyers want Suzanne to be found, in your opinion? Then do you think Barry wants her to be found? Who do you think wants Suzanne to be found more, the prosecution or the defense? Also, who do you think it favors if she isn't found? And that brings us to the final point in this episode, the jackpot question. There was an article published in the Daily Mail covering the same thing, the same interview on Good Morning America, but with one addition. They provided this map/infographic, and you can see it shows the Morphew home on the right, and it shows the location of the Garfield mine, 3 miles away, off Highway 50, and that is actually where the authorities are apparently searching for Suzanne currently. That's the search area identified. I didn't know that. And so what are the implications of this information? What inferences can we draw? And so this is my take on that. The area the cops appear to be searching is the mountain behind the Morphew home, and specifically an abandoned mine shaft on that mountain. So in terms of the inferences, firstly, the distance to the Morphew home is reasonably close, just 3 miles. Secondly, a mine shaft tends to be human infrastructure that someone, even a group of invested parties, miners, take the trouble to dig, set up, construct, and build. Not so? Which means they have to get there and get back. How do they do that? Doesn't that mean there's likely a road of some sort to the mine shaft? Maybe it's disused like the mine, but a road nonetheless. And maybe that is the sort of thing only a local would know about. A disused road to a disused mine. Now, there's a theory that a bobcat may have been used in the commission of this crime, and there appears to be some reason to think cadaver dogs showed interest either on a bobcat or dirt. It's not really on the bobcat, but basically on the loading platform of the bobcat, or for the bobcat. A bobcat could potentially be used to excavate a plugged mine, plug it, or both. But it could also be driven or towed, theoretically, to a mine shaft on a mountain. In other words, a bobcat could theoretically get to that Garfield mine if there was a road to it. One imagines miners got to the mine the same way, by driving there. The bobcat comes up a fair amount in the discovery, including its movements recorded on various CCTV cameras on Saturday. So the question is, could it go to this particular mine shaft identified? Is there a road, and if so, ... That's the jackpot question. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.